Good afternoon, everybody. It's Lorraine, Alternative Homesteading, on March 10, 2026. And I was cleaning out my downloads folder because there's always so much in there, you know, between things that I download from you guys, things that I just haven't gotten to. But I found something from Karen Stewart from 2021, and it's entitled Off Book Operations. So before I get into it, please remember to hit the thumbs up. It helps the channel grow, get the message out there, and feel free to share. Are DHS FBI Fusion Center off-book criminal operations killing you and your neighbors? Isn't that a wonderful heading for an article? DHS is the Department of Homeland Security. The FBI is my favorite bureau of instigation. Fusion centers have all those criminals that come into the community and slander you to all of your neighbors to go along to get along. After 9/11, FBI fusion centers were created all over the nation, ostensibly to be a place local and federal authorities could, quote-unquote, fuse information to stop terrorist attacks. You know, they have to fuse the information and collaborate and information share in the name of national security. Despite the wholesome hoovering of millions of Muslim immigrants into the U.S. after 9/11, contrary to common sense, whom they had hoped to use as a terrorist base threatening the U.S. forever, in order to secure the forever police state, few to no terrorist attacks were discovered, much less thwarted, since 9/11. And I will add that, do you know of any terrorist attacks that have been thwarted, prevented? I don't know. I think they just keep creating these mass shooters and stuff, and of course they, with their predictive policing, they're not predicting any of this in advance. They're allowing it to happen and then setting up innocent people with PhDs, especially in neuroscience. If you're a neuroscience PhD, or you know, like I'm forgetting his name now, Nuno's who the professor that was offed in the hallway of his apartment building. And then just a week later, it was announced that the very information that he had been researching for years at that university was going on the stock market with a whole big venture capital group. That's the way they do it. So despite the wholesale hoovering of millions of Muslim immigrants to the U.S. after 9/11, contrary to common sense, whom they had hoped to use as a terrorist base threatening the U.S. forever, in order to secure the forever police state, few or no terrorist attacks were discovered, much less thwarted, since 9/11. In fact, fusion centers have been reported as pools of utter ineptitude. They're like the Keystone Cop Nazis. To secure their obscene budgets, their fraudulent, obscene budgets and power, they became a vengeance for hire networked entity across the USA, listing whistleblowers as terrorists with no proof whatsoever required, so they could turn the full force of the police state against them to falsely justify their existence. And since 2021, when this article was written, there's a lot more people that have been placed on the list, like speaking out at a PTA or an HOA meeting, right? Or what about, I just saw a video the other day, a Marine, a medaled Marine, honored Marine, in his Marine uniform at a public meeting. He got carted out of the building by a bunch of cops, and then I guess a politician. And unfortunately, his arm got stuck in the door that he was holding on to, so they wouldn't lift him out, and they cracked his arm. You could actually hear it in the video. It was so disturbing. You could hear his arm crack. Yeah. So now they're going after veterans, Marine veterans, no less. The military industrial complex, MIC, entities also jumped on the bandwagon to insist that any people secretly declared as terrorists could be used by them to test covert weapons on, contrary to the Nuremberg Code demanding informed consent for human experimentation, which manufacturers of war-grade poisons, gases, and DNA weapons and directed energy weapons like microwave weapons hitting our diplomats certainly could never get from sane people. And back in 2024, May 1, 2024, when they manipulated a local feral cat to attack me, while that cat was attacking me, they took advantage of their military-grade weapons to cut a triangle in my forearm. Not a little teeny weeny one, not like a quarter of an inch. It was like 3 inches long. It nearly, by a nanosecond, missed a very large vein in my forearm. And, you know, I wasn't wearing short sleeves or anything, so my arms were not exposed. I was actually wearing a very thick long-sleeve sweatshirt and a long-sleeve shirt. But, miracle of miracles, there was no harm done to the sweatshirt or the long-sleeve shirt, only my arm. So the advanced military-grade weaponry is so advanced that it can target any part of your body, and it doesn't matter what you're wearing. It will avoid damaging your clothing, you know, for plausible deniability and make you seem like you're insane, that you did it yourself. Well, I'm not allowed to show you the image of the triangle cut into my forearm, but I can certainly show you the scar that was left behind. And I'll do that now. So here is the scar that was left behind on my forearm. Does that look like one of those free Masonic Y branches, or like a V for vendetta? And you see how it was a nanosecond away from my vein. And yes, I'm a very veiny individual. So yes, that's the scar that was left behind from a perfectly cut triangle in my forearm through 2 layers of clothing. This is the military grade weaponry that they are not telling you about, men and women, boys and girls. So the FBI fusion centers became masters of the falsified dossier and parallel construction lies of facts to get FISA court approval to surveil supposed suspicious, quote-unquote, suspicious people, innocent, unsuspecting people, with electronic devices which were actually weapons. They found it insanely lucrative to add thousands of innocent random people onto the fraud terrorist watch list to satisfy the MIC, the military industrial complex, demand, as well as protect criminal feds, and even set about training civilian neighborhood operatives into becoming proxies, that's like a rat snitch, and mercenaries, subverting the rule of law and the Constitution and basic principles of civilization. There ain't nothing civilized going here, Jackson County, Kentucky. I even had a governmental agency told me when they were here examining my trees, oh, I guess you didn't know, like living in Jackson County is like living in the wild, wild west. I kid you not. These civilians were given weapons to use 24/7 in their neighborhoods, towns, subjecting everyone around to radiation, both non-ionizing and ionizing. The younger the person exposed, the more chance for DNA damage and cancer. But these weapons have also been known to wreak havoc on pacemakers and other medical devices. Many deaths by bystanders or friends and family dying from the exposure to this radiation have been reported. But mercenaries, sort of like the infraguard goons, the infragoons, we're going to just call them infragoons. Those are the boots on the ground, the invisible midgets, you know, that twirl around your property wearing tutus, the ballerinas, yeah. But mercenaries told that they have immunity, and they do not care. But the mercenaries and their families will also die from exposure. So, to kill the useful idiot witnesses to these crimes by the deep state traitors. This is written by Karen M. Stewart, National Security Agency Intelligence Analyst, retired. Thank you, Karen. I'm so glad I found this today. I'm sure that my subscribers would be very interested to hear about the FBI fusion centers, these criminal proxies that go in the neighborhoods, and they actually are given some of the radiation weapons. So, everybody says, oh no, in rural areas, oh, they would not allow your neighbors to have those weapons. It's all done by satellite, but no, in Kentucky, this is an open carry state, men and women, boys and girls. You think that my neighbors don't have weapons coming out of their kazoo? Speak again. They've got them loaded, locked and loaded by their front doors and their back rooms. They've got that thermite going on, the grenades. Just check out my videos. Check out my videos on the criminals that threw a grenade on my property. Flashbang grenades, is that what they're called? Flashbang. Oh yeah, and here in Jackson County, Kentucky, Sheriff Daniel Isaacs is the go-along to get along. He never arrests anyone engaged in criminal activity. I could say more, but I won't.